Hello, everyone. How's it going? Today, we have assembled a bunch of our friends and whiskey enthusiasts for a whiskey review of the whiskey that comes from Jammu, Devans Gianchand. We have Aditi, Siddharth, and Pooja to do a tasting and review of Devans Gianchand. Aditi is also from Jammu. So, in case we want any insights about Jammu, Aditi is the expert for all things Jammu today. So, are we ready for the tasting? So, what has been your personal experiences with Indian single malt so far?
I think it's quite exciting that we have quite a variety now versus just one or two companies coming out with one or two whiskies each year. They're also across different price points. So depending on your palate, I think especially if you're starting out drinking whiskeys, it's a fun time to drink Indian whiskey right now.
In your whiskey cabinet or bar, what percentage of your shelf space would be taken up by Indian whiskies?
I'd say that's still quite small, less than 10% for whiskies at the moment.
Is it because of availability of them at times?
Yeah, I live in Bombay and Bombay prices versus rest of India prices are not that great. But I want to taste more. There are a lot more out in the market now, like this one that I haven't tasted before. So taste more and then maybe add them to my bar.
Well, I think it's evolving. It's fun. I think whenever you do a blind tasting, you will not know where it's coming from.
I think blind tastings have been quite a revelation for us. Aditi, this is the whiskey from your state.
I think with the diverse palette and the landscape that we have in India, it's like a whiskey coming from Jammu is actually a good thing for me. Being from the region, I can say.
You know, the interesting thing about Jammu, I was just doing a comparison between the minimum and maximum temperature that you experience in Jammu versus what you can experience in, let's say, Inverness. So a minimum in Jammu would be about 4 to 5 degrees and max would be about 45 to 46 during the summers. So that's variation is about 40 degrees. If you have to compare that with Inverness, Inverness minimum would be about -3 to -5 versus a max of 25. So that gives you a range of 30. So that additional heat does sort of impact the flavor of the whiskey, which we will sort of come and experience. So shall we get started with the tasting? The color is quite golden and light. For me, it's like there's a bit of peat in it coming through.
So definitely a Christmassy feeling, gingerbread for sure for me, and some honey, but a very light touch of honey.
Sweet spice or dried raisins and prunes.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Sweet and smooth.
Wow, it's very drying.
Get some bitter chocolate.
You get that at the center of it, there is fruitiness, but I'm getting a bit of spice. Texture is very creamy, what stands out for me.
I think it's more white pepper than the dark pepper.
It's surprising. Something to be light and creamy,
The spiciness on the palate is way more than on the nose.
That ginger that you were smelling, I can certainly taste it now.
Yeah, but it's more white pepper.
White pepper.
So yeah, it gives you kind of Christmassy feeling.
But that honey that we had on the nose, do you feel that that's the sweetness? It doesn't feel like a honey sweetness.
It's more like a toffee or more like that creme brulee initially, that sort of a sweetness, but it's that little bit of sweetness which then gets overtaken by the spiciness. I'm just a random question. Any sort of Scotch whiskey that you guys would have tried? Like,
I try and remember whiskies by the feelings I get from them, and it's the same feeling that I have when I have a Glenfarclas, which is, I know it's a completely different whiskey, but it's warming and easy, and I'm really surprised by how easy and smooth this is.
but I think the reason probably why you're getting that Glenfarclas thing also, because Glenfarclas, because of the sherry, has that Christmassy feel to it. And because you found that Christmassy thing on the note initially, so I think that sort of, the spice actually is quite misleading from the nose. It's just a burst of spices that you get, and that white pepper, that it has that nice tingling, dry sort of a mouthfeel that it leaves on the whole thing.
And the sweetness, I like that it isn't that cloying sweetness, which I think there are some Indian whiskey brands that are trying to appease to the sweeter palate that Indians have.
There's balance between the sweetness and the spiciness.
And that's something that you got in the nose also, right? The sweet spice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the cinnamon.
Yeah.
It's not cloyingly sweet, And that spice, it's all over my mouth now.
The sweetness is there, yes, but I think what surprised me is the spice. And I think I get a little of chocolate towards the end. Chocolate.
For me, I think it's quite early. So it got a long dry finish. The entire palate is like too dry right now. Obviously, I'm getting lots of bitter chocolate. It just settles down. Very smooth finish.
For me, I think what I'm getting on the palate is I'm getting apricot sort of sweetness on it, but then there is that burst of spice, which on the nose you will not sort of feel that it is going to be so spicy. And that spiciness again is like that white pepper tingling sort of a thing. I'm getting a bit of oak on the palate as well. I think what I'm also liked about the whole thing was that whole creamy mouthfeel. It's almost like a custard apple sort of a thing. Towards the end, you get a lot of spice and oak for me. How would you like this whiskey? Straight with a cocktail?
This is really nice on its own. I don't even need any ice in it, but I'd also love to try it in an old-fashioned. I think that the hint of sweetness really lends itself to that cocktail, and the spice will be a surprise.
How about you?
Yeah, I think I'll just go neat. Yeah, because it's got that sweet and spice. It's quite nice.
I'll just like to have it the way I'm having it right now. I won't like to add anything. It's like, let it be true to its origin.
So, what do you think about the finish on the whiskey, Pooja?
I really like that this is a whiskey that keeps on giving. Every taste adds more and more, but it's that beautiful, smooth spice, really, that I'm taking away with me.
And it's like to find finish medium on the longs or the long side?
Too long.
Right.
Nice long.
So it's medium to low. There is a lot of spice, and I think, but I somehow still keep getting the bit of chocolate.
For me as well, I think it's medium to long finish. Lots of spice. The candied dry fruits. That Christmassy feeling. I'm still getting that Christmassy feeling.
The finish has been a bit, obviously on the longer side, and it's like a spiciness with some oak and sweet, fruity, like fruity sort of a sweetness to it. So I think it's a mix of, but that sweet, spicy that lingers for a while on it. Any food pairing recommendations for the whiskey?
So usually I stay away from overly flavored food when pairing it with a drink specifically, because I like that what the drink has to shine through. But the spice and sweet in this is so interesting that I'd be brave enough to have some spicy Indian chakna with it. Definitely fried stuff, maybe some crispy kolivara to give the creaminess of the squid along with the spicy batter on top of that. I'd be interested to see what that tastes like.
Oh, lemon tart will be really interesting with this because the spice of the whiskey will really kind of explode the lemon flavor in your mouth.
I think keeping with the cultural heritage and everything, I like to pair it with the original cuisine of J&K. I don't mind trying it with some nice Rogan juice.
I think I got custard apple on the palate, a bit of it, because of the creaminess and slight sweetness. I would love to pair it with a custard apple ice cream. Both of them will sort of complement each other. On a surprise note, the ladies have gone for spicy combination, spicy and desi combination.
Yeah.
And the men have gone for not so desi and sweet combination. And since I'm getting some custard apple in my whiskey, do you guys fancy pairing it with the custard apple ice cream? Cool. A sip of the whiskey after a bit of the ice cream.
What if we pour some whiskey into the ice cream?
Works really well. The complexity of the whiskey just adds to this nice creaminess that you're getting from this custard apple.
Top idea. Vinayak, well done.
Cheers to Gianchand.
Cheers.
And on the finishing note, any one word for the whiskey that you guys think?
I want to give you 2 words. Delicious and so easy.
Easy spice. Easy spice, okay.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Christmassy.
My one word would be delicious.
I like though how we've now reached a stage where we no longer have to say for an Indian whiskey. And this is the first time really that I feel like we can talk about it as just a whiskey and not as an Indian whiskey.